Well, Vladimir Putin was speaking during the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, where a considerable number of contracts have already been signed. And what's been branded as one of the most important is an agreement between Russian oil giant Rosneft and the Kurdistan regional government in northern Iraq. The deal is estimated at over $1 billion and is set to last 20 years. It will involve the joint exploration and development of 5 oil fields in Iraq's Kurdistan. And Rosneft will get access to a key regional pipeline. However, not everyone might be happy with the deal. Here's Jacqueline Vuga with more.
This 20-year contract is no small achievement. It puts Rosneft on course to become a key player in one of the world's newest and fastest-growing oil provinces. Already active in the region are American giants Chevron and Exxonmobil. So it's likely that this massive deal brokered by the Russians will ruffle some feathers here in D.C., where they have long had big plans for Iraqi oil. This is clear from the Future of Iraq project launched a year before the 2003 invasion of the country. Part of that plan is to transfer control of the lion's share of the undeveloped oil fields in Iraq to American and British companies. But 14 years on, this hasn't quite happened, thanks largely to, well, the war on terror.
We get nothing. You know, it used to be to the victor belong the spoils. Now, there was no victor there, believe me, there was no victor. But I always said, take the oil.
And the U.S. doesn't seem to have plans to immediately pull out of the Middle East once ISIL is defeated.
The military power of the coalition will remain where this fraudulent caliphate has existed in order to set the conditions for a full recovery from the tyranny of ISIS.
The U.S. Secretary of State is no stranger to the value of the region. Back in 2011, when he was still the CEO of Exxonmobil, he signed a deal, not with Baghdad, but with the Kurds to drill for oil in Iraqi Kurdistan. That move infuriated Baghdad and even triggered fears of an Iraqi-Kurdish conflict. And shortly after Tillerson became the U.S. Secretary of State, he had a meeting with Iraq's Minister of Oil, but the details of what they discussed are unknown. As for Trump, he believes the U.S. could still get a hold of Iraq's vast reserves, one way or another.
And I always said, in addition to that, keep the oil. Now, I said it for economic reasons. But if you think about it, Mike, if we kept the oil, you probably wouldn't have ISIS, because that's where they made their money in the first place. So we should have kept the oil. But, okay. Maybe you'll have another chance. But the fact is, you should have kept the oil.
Perhaps if the U.S. focused more on business than war, that chance will finally come. Jacqueline Vuga, RT, Washington, D.C.
Russia and Iraqi Kurds signed an oil deal today on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg World Economic Forum. Now, under the agreement, Russia gets access to a Kurdish oil pipeline and will participate in the creation of a new joint company. RT's Ilya Petrenka is in St. Petersburg for us.
Finally, we are getting news of big contracts actually being signed here at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. I've just spoken exclusively to Russia's oil giant Rosneft spokesperson, Mr. Leontiev, and he shed some light on some of the details of several contracts that were signed by Rosneft and the regional government of Kurdistan in Iraq. Take a listen to some of the things that he told me.
We signed a series of agreements with Iraqi Kurdistan on several issues, in particular on extraction, construction of infrastructure, supplies and access to a large oil pipeline between Kurdistan and Turkey. This is a very significant expansion with the agreement to last 20 years. It could be the biggest contract signed at this forum so far. Big players are now willing to work in Kurdistan. There is space for all.
Among other things, the documents outline the terms for the establishment of a joint venture between Rosneft and Iraqi Kurdistan to fulfill the contracts that have been signed between the two sides. Besides, it will provide access for Rosneft to managing a transport system in Iraqi Kurdistan. That is, of course, a system of the oil industry infrastructure with a capacity of 700,000 barrels of oil per day. So obviously, this is very important. As I was saying, biggest deal at this signed at this economic forum so far. It gives a huge boost for the Iraqi Kurdistan economy, and also that is a major confidence boost. Now, the Prime Minister of the Iraqi Kurdistan was here to hold the negotiations and then to eventually sign the deals. He also talked with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. and I asked him for comment just as he left that room. Take a listen to what he told me about what appears to be an increasing level of cooperation between Erbil and Moscow.
For us, this is an opportunity again in St. Petersburg to expand the relationship in all the fields, the energy sector and politically and economy with Russia.
How far can it go?
It will. So of course, now we have a good relation, and we hope that it will be better.
Do you think it will raise any eyebrows elsewhere?
I hope so.
We can only guess what Prime Minister Barzani hinted at or what he actually meant. It could be the U.S. because we know that Washington has really been enjoying its role as, so to say, the exclusive patron of the Kurds, both in Syria and Iraq, and they are really unlikely to be willing to give up